Hey everyone, this is LaRue from FilmSnobbery, and I am here on behalf of the Santa Barbara Film Festival doing some interviews, just a quick interview. And today I've got Iggy London, a filmmaker, British filmmaker, who's got his short film Area Boy, that just won big over at that festival and has been doing supremely well on the festival circuit so far. So, hello, how are you today?
Hello, hello. I'm very good. I'm very good. It's like around 10 o'clock in London time. It's a bit dark, but it's all good. It's all
Yeah,
good.
but well, it's just about to kick off. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. It's about to kick off. Like, yeah, I know I'm keeping you from something far more entertaining than this. Um,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
but all right, so tell me, so for the folks who weren't at the festival or haven't had a chance to see Area Boy yet, talk a little bit about what that movie is about.
Yeah, 100%. So Area Boy is a story about an aimless teenager called Eli who moves to a provincial town with his mother. And during the course of his time there, meets a bunch of delinquent boys called Area Boys. I like call them Area Boys. And essentially, during his time, he basically sets up, or his part of this initiation, to be brought into a fold of group of boys, basically just break things and torment and become antisocial people. But ultimately, they are like good kids. And um, uh, Eli, during his time there, basically is invited to become born again Christian with this church. And essentially, starts the process of basically becoming baptized. But during this time, he's basically going back and forth, like being with these crazy, weird, random kids, and also this kind of like church sort of world. And during both of those type of communities where he kind of goes from one to the other, Eli is basically holding up this type of very fundamental secret that he's keeping very, close to himself, and we get to see it throughout, and how that hiding the secret is affecting both of the worlds that he lives in. And essentially, a character called Kevin, it becomes his guardian angel, and makes him basically decide as to what type of person he wants to become, and whether he should renounce his world and renounce the person that he's going to become, or fall into the fold of how everyone else in the area becomes that person, the same old person that
Yeah.
he's trying to be. Yeah.
No,
Mm.
it's great, and one of the things that really impressed me because it's a short film, and it's you packed enough in there for any feature, in terms of like themes and devices and stuff like that. Great compelling characters and stuff. But one of the things that really impressed me was you introduced these ideas of you know the whole church aspect of it, the whole chav aspect of it, or the whatever, and then you have these other identity things that are happening with the character as well. And one thing that I really appreciated on all three of those things is, from an audience perspective, is like you didn't seem to throw judgment on any one thing at all. It was more like you were presenting this palette of things and that this character has to choose from and who to be and what to be and all this kind of and managing expectations from everyone and all this, but never really as a director or as a writer going like, but what we really want him to choose is this.
Yeah,
Like what I really want. Like, no, it wasn't that. Like, you were just like, these are the options in front of him. And I think that that's far more like realistic as far as how most people live their lives anyway. It's like, we all hopefully, if we're lucky enough to have that one friend who was like, look, man, like whatever you decide, like we're cool, and whatever, it's fine. Like, yeah, it's just that that was a real thing. Was that a conscious decision while you were writing it and filming it to put it that way?
yeah. I think fundamentally, if I was to sort of judge and put a steer as to how Eli was supposed to think and decide his sort of make his decision for him, I think that ultimately it would be a very boring film, I think. But also I feel like the challenge of what the film was all about, this intensity of holding the secret, this intensity of pretending to be someone, wouldn't necessarily come through as much in terms of the story's arc. So ultimately, and also the biggest thing is I didn't want to necessarily judge. I didn't want to necessarily judge. I think we all live in, we can judge. We're quite judgmental people, and I feel as though like even when you're watching a film like that, you have like 5 minutes to get people excited about the film, or they can like switch off. And so ultimately, like, I didn't want to necessarily cast a judgment on the church world. I didn't want to necessarily cast a judgment on this group of, delinquent young boys who just want to like terrorize the community. I didn't want to, make judgment on Eli's mom or even Eli himself. I wanted it to feel as though like these are the emotions that are very normal, that every sort of young teen is kind of somewhat going through. This idea of like wanting to be someone that you're not, this idea of pretending, and ultimately and allowing that to adjust the film and become the nuts and bolts of what the film is about. Yeah.
Was there any is there any part of you would think about expanding this film into something bigger in the future? I mean, one of the things that even just as a from the film critic side of it, I was like, oh, I would love to know more about why they moved, what his mother's interest in going to joining the church, and some of the backgrounds of some of the other kids he was hanging out with, and you know how his secrets and decisions and all these kind of things affects things like his dating life, or
Yeah.
all of these other things. Like there's so much more in that world, which by the way was really richly done in terms of your cinematography as well. Like what your locations were fantastic. um uh yeah, was there any interest in expanding that out maybe in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I didn't necessarily think that Airway would be something that I would like to do as an extended sort of thing. I always thought of it as I was almost closing the chapter to these type of themes that I was always talking about in my films, because it's very much, stories of identity and masculinity and like community are very much, synonymous with my work. And visual storytelling has always been like my theme, and I've always been obsessed with the likes of Claire Denis, um, Claire Denis, Barry Jenkins, like all these sort of filmmakers who provide a level of like visual poetry and visual symbolism and spirituality into their films. And so
Boots Riley does that really well too.
exactly.
Yeah.
That I love his work, and so I was always trying to figure out, okay, cool, is this going to be the end of that world, and am I going to go into something which is a little bit more, yeah, just a little bit more different and pivot. And so I always thought that Area Boy was supposed to be the end of that. It was supposed to be like an end of a chapter, and then starting off a new chapter. But I also feel as though there's all these other questions that a lot of people have told me after seeing the film, i.e., like, what's Kevin's world? Like, what's Kevin's situation, and how the area boys come together? Like, how are they formed? And I always saw them as like this, like, these like king of like the rats. They were like just like guys who just formed together, band together
And
to.
they get entangled, and they just form this. Yeah, I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about exactly. The Rat King. The Rat
yeah,
King is formed. For those who don't know, the Rat King is formed when the tails of a bunch of rats get tied together, and they form basically one giant pissed off rat.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, 100%. And I feel as though like this is yeah, I don't know if that there was something really powerful of understanding that a bunch of people who are disenfranchised come together to make this thing which they believe in, and these are the rules of their community, and this is the initiation, and this is their world. And so I really love being able to make that. And I think that if I was to ever make a film about this again or expand it, it would definitely focus on the all the boys and how their worlds are so somewhat entangled together, I would think. Yeah.
From the production standpoint, how did you get involved with Sungazer and the BBC and all that kind of stuff? And you guys have so much better access to like filmmaking assistance over in the UK than we have, because you have government assistance and all that kind of stuff. We don't have any of that. They're just like, want to make a movie? Good luck.
Good
Um,
luck. Yeah, yeah. I feel like every time I see a short film made in the US, I always pay attention. Like, it's one of those things where like I appreciate the level of work and artistry that's gone onto it, because I just think that it's so hard to make one because you need loads of money to like that you wouldn't ordinarily have just
yeah.
lying around to burn on locations, cast, set design, all these different things, and there's no guarantee that obviously the thing, this short film will be a success, and there's no return on investment in that way. So I really do appreciate it. But ultimately, yeah, we have a fortunate platform as like Film 4, BFI, we have BBC, and yeah, I've been privileged to just really have them champion my work from a very um, from an early stage in my career, and they've always sort of seen my visual storytelling. And I've never really been a narrative in the narrative world. I've always been visual storytelling, but never like in an actual form of a script. And so this was like a really great time to write a very poetic, powerful, subtle film that I always really wanted to make. And then the BBC sort of reached out to me to say that they would, support any sort of film that I made with a view of obviously, growing that relationship and, designing something a little bit, with a longer form sort of aspect to it. But ultimately, yeah, it was just a very enriching conversation that I had with the BBC, basically saying that they love my work and they wanted me to make a short film. And I was like, hey, I would love to make a short film.
Yeah. Twist
And
my
then
arm, why don't you?
yeah, exactly, and then it all sort of started from there, and then started work. They introduced me to Sungazer, who's and headed up by LaRue, Piagnol, and then we sort of worked from there to like basically make this film after I provided a script. And yeah, sort of I developed it with the BBC, and then I went to Berlinale, and I was in the Berlinale Talents program, and they sort of finalized the development of that, although it was pretty much finished at that point. And then I was ready to shoot after that. So in around March or April, I basically shot it. So it was yeah,
That's
very
fantastic. I
yeah.
mean, you have so much access to different places just by being in the UK. I mean, it's not as great since Brexit, obviously, but like being able to, head on over to like, Berlinale or heading over to, Cannes or heading down to, all of these different, either whether it's festivals or just, places with other, things that can help you move forward in your career. It's a fantastic kind of thing. So far, of all the festivals and things that you've had a chance to go to, what would you say is like your favorite? And on top of that, what would you say, like, when you go to a festival, what are your expectations? Like, do you go in there like, okay, here's my goals, I'm going to go talk to the industry people, or do you feel like I want to go be with my people. I want to go with the other filmmakers and hang out, and I want to see what they're doing. I want to keep my ear to the streets, so to speak. Or,
Yeah.
like, what is your vibe when you go to a festival, and what is your favorite one you've done so far?
Yeah, for me, London Film Festival has to be my favorite film festival. Like, even though I know that Venice Film Festival, obviously, I was Boy was part of the Horizonte competition at Venice Film Festival. It premiered at Venice Biennale. It's a very prestigious film festival, and I completely respect. And I got to meet the president of the festival whilst I was there, so I'm very grateful of that. But I will just say, there's nothing better than a film festival, in your back garden, and I absolutely just love London Film Festival. The plethora of films and the level of artistry in every single film I've watched at London Film Festival literally excites me. And it was the birthplace of a lot of inspiration for Area Boy, but also just a lot of passion. Like, it was the first time I saw um, Poor Things, or like just generally like great things, great films that I've always been inspired by. And also gives a great filmmakers I've always been inspired by. But also, when I go to film festivals, this is the only thing I ever want to do. I just want to watch films. I don't want to talk to no one. I don't want to engage. I don't have coffees. I don't want anyone to have coffees with me. I don't want anyone to. I don't love the whole sort of scene, the world of having to socialize as much. I think you can do that after the festival, but everyone wants to meet at the festival for some strange reason. But I really think that the point of the festival is the film. And
I
so I watch as many films as possible, and I write as many things as possible about the films, and I really allow it to just soak up like my understanding, just really soak up the film and then divulge in it. I don't want to like socialize. I don't know why. Yeah, but that's
got
my
you.
thing. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, and I envy filmmakers at film festivals because they actually generally have the time
Yeah.
to actually enjoy the festival. Like, I just spent this whole last festival I was at in a well, it basically was a conference room as filmmakers just went in and out, and I was just basically conducting interviews very similar to this about their films. And so, it's less about going in and watching the movies and more about making sure that I'm elevating the voices who created those movies.
Yeah.
But there is a frustration to that because I would much rather be in the dark room with everyone else, experiencing that. It's a part of my job I kind of miss. I don't get to do as often. But like I understand that. So you'll write about also the movies that you watch. Is it like do you like submit it for like criticism, or is this more for your personal kind of like
So,
like your watch journal or letterboxed or something like that?
yeah, because I don't have Letterboxd, and I don't know, I don't know. What I love so much is about writing. I didn't go to film school, so as part of that, I have this thing. It sounds so lame, but I have this thing called Iggy Film School Notes, and it's basically a massive document, a massive folder of different documents, and each one is like. So I have like a whole like couple of research notes on like transcendental filmmaking, and then I
No,
have
that's
another,
fantastic.
yeah, like a whole
Yeah.
analysis of like poor things and from cinematography to set design to score to makeup, and I literally just like break it down because so much of the time, unfortunately, when a film comes out of like obviously it might go into streaming when it comes out like the whole cinema circuit, it may go to streaming, which is great. But then sometimes you lose the passion of what the film is because it's just like showing on your phone or like on your like a small screen or like a laptop. And so I love to break down a film just as I'm at the point of just like digesting it because I think that so many things are you get really inspired at that point and
Yeah. That's
it
when you're
forms.
the most honest about it.
Yeah, rather
Yeah.
than faking it. And also like nobody's told you
Yeah.
what they think about the film. So you're not, there's no sort of bias as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I like total respect on that because first of all, number one, like when you eventually go and get the BAFTA, right? Like that's the book that follows up is your film school book, right?
Yeah,
Like you'll already
exactly.
have it all written, ready to go. And
Exactly.
I interviewed a lot of filmmakers for my own book, and one of the big questions I talked to them about was film school stuff. And like, yeah, film school can teach you how to hold how to do cinematography, how to manage people on a set, how to there's a lot of things that they can teach you. A lot of that stuff they can't teach you is the stuff that it seems like you're already really good at. First of all, you're already really good at putting a camera on something. We saw that. That's, Area Boy is a really good example. Obviously, writing and directing, good times. But but in terms of like the other stuff, like the marketing stuff, the publicity, the knowing how to do these interviews and stuff like that, or even just like navigating the festival circuit, understanding how to talk to people that are, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go have a meeting with Sungazer and BBC. I need to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward so that they want to work with me and we move forward in a partnership and a relationship that is fruitful and blah blah blah. All of that cool stuff. Like they don't teach you that at film school. They don't teach you contracts. They don't teach you none
No.
of that crap. So, like, there's a lot of things that you're getting so much practical experience for that is absolutely vital. And I think that watching and breaking down what other people are doing their thing too is another perfect part of that. I mean, that's essentially what Quentin Tarantino did. That was his film school. So I mean, it's very yeah, and it's saving you a ton of money.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have to go to like a lecture. But also the one thing that's really great about it is because it's something to really talk about in these interviews. And nobody teaches you that when you meet up with the likes of the BBC or you meet up with like different organizations, they always ask you like what have you been inspired by recently? And if you can't say because you've been in your script for such a long time,
Yep.
or you haven't watched a film for a long time, then then what's the whole point of becoming a filmmaker? I think, or being a filmmaker. I think a lot of the time you also have to take the time to actually watch the film and to digest it and to understand what you like about film in the first place.
Yeah.
It's such a subjective medium that you have to really understand what you like about stuff, what you don't like about stuff, so that when you
Yeah.
get into a room, you can really convey that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to things like pitching and stuff, do you consider yourself to be good at like, about walking into a room and being confident about, who you're talking to and what you're going to talk about because you kind of already know, like, I've done the research, I'm good. Like, or do you still kind of get like the butterflies on that one a little bit? Do you still kind of get a little weird inside on it?
Yeah, no, I don't get um the butterflies at all. I think I'm very clear as to what my desires are. And I think I really know what I want to make and the type of stories I want to make. And I think that they are so refreshing because we don't get to see them.
Yeah.
And I always say that, like, in terms of I've been doing a lot of like commercials, and I've been doing a lot of short films with my own sort of money, and so I've gotten used to pitching. I've gotten used to talking to people and engaging with crew. And so ultimately, I just see it as a conversation with a friend. I see those sort of meetings and those pitches as like just sort of having a just having a really meaningful conversation and trying to convey exactly what you want. And I've always figured out that that's when I'm the most calm. That I can really be able to tell something which is succinct and clear and has good sort of like grounds and seeds and legs to the idea if I'm calm and if I just want to have if I just see them as a person too. But yeah, at the beginning it gets a little bit scary when you're like in an elevator and you're going up to the ninth floor and if
No,
someone's asking for a coffee and like you're waiting around for the coffee and
yeah,
then waiting for people to come out of the lobby and so you can go just all these different things that happen and you're like, oh, there's almost just like the culture, the like
yeah.
um that is a little bit difficult, but
It's not even
ultimately
so much the conversation, it's the time between the times within the conversation. That elevator ride is the longest elevator ride of your life. It doesn't
yeah,
matter if it's 2 floors or 9 floors, but you're absolutely right. Like,
yeah,
that, waiting for that coffee, like, this is gonna be the best coffee I've ever had, and it's gonna take the longest to ever get here. Um,
yeah.
yeah, man, I totally understand that. Yeah, where is Area Boy still gonna kind of be traveling on the festival circuit, or where are you off to
Yeah.
next?
So yeah, it's currently traveling the festival circuit. Obviously, it won Best Short Film at Santa Barbara International Film Festival.
Yeah, it
So
did.
it qualifies it qualifies for the Oscars, and so we're just kind of like following that circuit, seeing where it goes, seeing what the potential sort of route would be, and then if if we're lucky, then having it on a platform, in next year or sorry later on this year would be really great. So yeah, we're just kind of seeing where it goes and where it lands and sort of how the rest of the festival circuit sort of works, and then we can kind of like figure out its home for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I really enjoyed what I saw, and I really appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat with me about it a little bit and give me your insights on stuff and geeking out a little bit with me also. That's always nice. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say good luck on the festival circuit if you do make it stateside and we happen to cross paths. Well, I'd say I'd buy you a coffee or a beer or something, but it sounds like you're going to be too busy watching movies. So I guess I'll just end up doing another interview.
Exactly. Let's just do that. Yeah. Let's just swap notes. Swap
Well, I was gonna,
notes.
yeah, I was just gonna say we'll just swap notes.
Yeah.
Perfect, absolutely.
Exactly.
Or if I end up coming on over to the UK there for Rain Dance, though, hopefully we run into each other there, and it would be fantastic to do so. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck with Area Boy and the festival circuit, and just whatever potential distribution comes of it, and I'm sure it will. So thank you so much, Iggy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Take care.